Hello. Thank you to any viewers and to any replay viewers. Today, I'm addressing a topic that I've been talking about doing for a long time. And recently, the requests have been ramping up as well. So I thought time to abandon a needless commitment to perfectionism and just get it done. Anybody who's still on Facebook, and there's a few billion, need to get off because it's a platform that, whilst allowing you to share pet videos and children videos and holiday snaps, is helping Mark Zuckerberg disenfranchise voters and basically promote massacres and genocide efforts around the world. Because Facebook is a publishing medium that takes no responsibility for its content, or claims to take responsibility for its content, but is very unnecessarily generous to right-wing accelerationist groups. And when I say accelerationist, I mean people who want to bring about a civil war in the United States because they fervently believe that such a war is inevitable and they want to start it on their own terms. There are other hate groups that Facebook promotes as well. Its algorithm literally promotes these groups to people. 60% of the members of the Boogaloo groups have said they joined after being exposed to Boogaloo content by Facebook algorithms. It's not okay. They make noises about how they're trying to do the right thing, but the outcome has been so bad over and over again. And Mark Zuckerberg has been so narcissistically, unethically compelled to keep telling people he's just an organ of free speech. His company is an organ of free speech when it is an organ of the worst type of speech. Hey, Clive, it's not okay to be on Facebook. I am recommending everybody get rid of it. You don't need Facebook. This is something for us all to do. So I've got up a Facebook, how to delete Facebook video so we can watch it. Oops, nope, I've got the wrong thing. Good that you left Facebook a while ago. Okay. Permanently. Okay, so question mark icon. Delete my Facebook account. Yes, please. Let's do that. Oh, you can't hear it. Okay. I will fix it.
Every time we upload a video to this channel. Right. So you want to delete your Facebook account.
He's got a lovely Irish accent. Thank you for letting me know, Craig.
Move, whether you don't want them selling your data or whether it's because the Facebook app is listening to all your conversations and is then spookily sending you ads based on what you've said. Now, Facebook doesn't want you to leave, and that's why they hide these settings away from you, but by law, they have to.
Be my guest.
So let's head on over to the Trusted Computer and to show you how to delete your Facebook account permanently. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is actually go up to the quick help icon here on Facebook when you're logged in. So if we click on that and then type in permanently. And what you'll get is, how do I permanently delete my Facebook account? Facebook tried to hide this, but they have to give you the information. So when you know where to look, they will give it to you. So they give you information on what happens when you permanently delete your account. What if you don't want to permanently delete it, but would like just to take a break. So if you do want to temporarily deactivate your account,
permanently.
click on this link here. Now, when you get down to how do I permanently delete my account, they also give you a link to download a copy of all your information. This is very important because it gives you all your posts, all your images, all your videos, everything you've uploaded, and much more. So when we look at this, so we have our information here. So we'll see posts and videos, photos, comments, all of this information here. You can then download that, and you can then also get a copy of your media, which is your photos, etc. Then it'll create a file, send you that link to download, and then you can download all your information from there. So when you want to permanently delete your account, follow the instructions here, which is click on the triangle here, go to settings, go to the left-hand side where it says your Facebook information. Click on that, and you can also download your information here. And at the bottom, you have the link here, delete your account and information. So if you click on that, so again, they give you the option to deactivate your account. You can download your information. You can edit page admin settings as well. You can also manage your apps. But if you want to just delete it, click on delete account, enter in your password, and click on continue. The information here will tell you that you have 30 days to cancel the deletion of your account. And then after 30 days, all the information and your account will be permanently deleted and you won't be able to retrieve your information. Now, it can take up to 90 days for all the content to be deleted from Facebook. But once you initiate the deletion of your account, you'll be totally hidden from Facebook altogether. Everything will be taken off. Then they'll take up to 90 days to delete your content. But if you do want to just take a break and temporarily deactivate your account, click on this link here. You can hide yourself from Facebook and keep all your data on there. So there you go. That's how you permanently delete your Facebook account. Before you do, make sure to have a look at those apps, because those apps still contain data that you've put in there over time and they can still use it. So delete the apps before you delete your account so that all your data is deleted. Now,
well, for those people who want to know why and what deadly massacres Facebook's been involved in, let's just type in Facebook massacres, because there's Myanmar massacres. Myanmar massacres. Facebook admits it was used to incite violence in Myanmar, as well as being used to incite violence in the United States and promote promote Donald Trump, which has a very high body count. And if you don't understand why Donald Trump is associated with a very high body count, then perhaps you don't understand why wearing masks is important, having a national pandemic response is important, why not killing people that you're supposed to be leading is actually part of good governance and not fascistic tyranny. So this is the way Clive did it. Excellent. It's not paranoia to suspect that the Trump administration is actively seeking to harm Americans. You can look at the recent Vanity Fair article where people who were on Jared Kushner's team to implement a national testing strategy have admitted that they decided, actually, on the balance of things, there are more cases in blue states at this present moment. So if we don't have a national testing strategy and just leave it up to the states to deal with this federal level crisis, then they may just blame the Democratic state governors. And so have that be politically expedient for the Trump campaign to continue to denounce state-level Democratic mismanagement for the Trump administration's willful, depraved indifference to human life and failure to have a national testing plan. Tony's saying that Dems lie, but I guess he thinks he can point to a national testing strategy. Can you, Tony, at US 24? Can you point to the precise method of ramping up testing around the United States to save lives and contain this virus that is killing vulnerable people, but also young people, also middle-aged people, also your parents and grandparents, people in your community that you might like, and your healthcare professionals are being disproportionately jeopardized as well, their health and safety, because dose exposure to the virus is also a factor in severity levels of cases. So people like Tony, whether they're a real American or whether they're a paid fraud account, like to disseminate any type of propaganda narrative to pretend that Donald Trump is in any way, shape, or form competent and not willfully, maliciously killing Americans by neglect. Unless this is another great example of how strong the strategy of trolls and disreputable people are. Tony's claiming that coronavirus isn't a serious problem because he doesn't personally know anybody that's been killed by the coronavirus. So the rest of you can die or be exposed to significantly increased risk of death or harm because Tony doesn't personally know anybody yet killed by coronavirus, according to him, and everybody else can suffer as a consequence for his extremely poor evidentiary standards. Australia doesn't have the same extent of problems as the United States. We are experiencing an outbreak of the coronavirus in one state. It's nothing compared to the United States, in which Florida has more cases than the entire European Union. Florida. And Australia also doesn't have a problem with catering to a gun manufacturing industry. We're not quite as obsequious to unregulated capitalism that we would allow gun manufacturing companies to purchase the loyalties of our politicians. There's attempts to do so, but we don't have a homicide rate that is anywhere near approaching the United States. Our domestic accident rate with guns is also obviously much lower because we don't have the same level of broad purchasing of guns. Americans who own guns are still a minority, but they're a very vocal minority, and they're really quite obsessed with adding to their cachet. He's an obvious troll, I know. Sometimes I like to play with the trolls, but I guess it's not always the best use of time. Yes, Trump is asserting that he's going to get rid of the Chinese app, TikTok, Chinese-owned app, which might just be talk, might just be ramping up the rhetoric against China so that he can try and declare war against China as a distraction from the way he has unleashed the virus on the public. In no small part, I'm sure, because he wanted a cover story for the collapsing economy. The economy was already beginning to enter a recession and was officially pronounced to be in a recession by February, before there were lockdowns, before people understood that coronavirus was already taking hold in populous, high travel areas, cities. So that's something. I'll keep this video brief because I do want to just leave it about mostly how to delete Facebook. That's the issue for today, and I want to leave the focus on that. This is boring. You don't have anything really novel to suggest. We go through these tired accusations. True civilization is not tolerance that's so broad you let Nazis roam free. Germany learned that lesson in a very costly fashion, and now they forbid people to use swastikas. They forbid neo-Nazis. I don't think I agree with what you're saying, Engage, but I like people who have opinions that are different from this guy. He's probably not really a guy, is he? He's probably a poorly paid Moldovan person with a script, because he doesn't even have any sort of exciting novelty or variation in his trollishness. It's not a debate when trolls come and just spew virulent nonsense into the social media sphere. And we are being exploited when they try and use our intellectual humility as a weapon against us. They think they can come in with their unsubstantiated self-confidence and exploit the fact that intelligent people are more likely to have a degree of humility, to have a degree of wanting to entertain an opposing view, and who understand that positions of strength are often reached when you can understand where someone else is coming from. But they all want to debate because they just want to assert dominance. It's not a debate. It's just a small penis activity from people, the type of people who derided Hillary Clinton, who was at least a competent leader and served the public for many decades and had a vitriolic campaign against her for decades. The kind of exploitative CEOs who capitalized on pre-existing levels of racism and contempt for women. Yes, there is a very important reason to delete Facebook. Facebook is a force for ill. And if you're a responsible citizen, if you have a conscience and you don't want your country to continue to debase itself by spreading disinformation about the coronavirus, if you don't want people to continue to delude themselves that masks aren't necessary and that hydroxychloroquine is somehow an answer that just globally is being ignored out of an unfair resentment towards our glorious leader, Donald King Trump. If you're the kind of person who thinks that that argument has merit, then of course you wouldn't understand why it's necessary to delete Facebook. But deleting Facebook is necessary because we can't just focus our disagreements on Trump. There are a whole bunch of people in a circle approximate to that illegal and unethical consolidation of executive power. Exactly. Hillary is an awesome person, and Ajax, BleachBit is a free program that you can use to delete emails. Hillary Clinton, as the spouse of a former president, and therefore had servers in their home which were created in order to protect the correspondence of a former president, protect an asset of the United States, essentially. So her emails were pretty safe, but once the Republicans turned their system of confecting outrage against Hillary, then yes, they pretended that rules which weren't written yet already existed and that Hillary did something wrong. Her staffers were a bit tardy in deleting her personal emails from that account. But, the ones that were recovered were emails about recipes for creme brulee, everything that was pretty straightforward. There was no scandal. There was just a lot of hearings and a lot of hype. The Republican Party is very good at confecting hype to try and damage their opponents. And it's all bad faith, and it's all very tiresome. Not just because it's inherently tiresome, but because the consequences of that confected outrage and people's indulgence of that confected outrage have brought us to the situation we're currently in, which is that a narcissistic criminal is in the White House instructing his son-in-law to shut down even the prospect of a nationalized testing program to respond to a national pandemic situation, because he'd rather sidestep accountability and delegate responsibility for dealing with a national problem to states that have less resources, don't have the ability to evoke the Defense Production Act, which Trump has and could use to benefit Americans. And I always try to discourage people from using the past tense. You can't say Trump botched the pandemic response because it's a rolling, ongoing situation. Every day passes, there is still no national plan for the federal government to employ itself properly and respond at a national level to this pandemic. Trump's national response to the coronavirus pandemic is to blame China, as if that's what responsible adults do when confronted with a difficult situation, to say, well, it's somebody else's fault. China's not doing anything to the US. Trump is withholding solutions from the United States. He has control over the mass and might of the most powerful nation on earth, and he's choosing to withhold that capacity. Glad you brought up the foundation. Trump's foundation has been disbanded for fraud, whereas Clinton's foundation was registered and rated highly by charities for decades of positive work and positive contribution. Only one of those two foundations has been shut down and its organizers made to pay other charities and show remorse for what they've done in terms of defrauding the donors. Yes, Trump has multiple phones, doesn't he? And he doesn't secure them. And look, Trump himself is unsecured. Who knows what he tells Vladimir Putin, because he makes people destroy the translator's notes. So Trump himself is far worse than an unsecured phone or an unsecured email. He's a literal Russian asset of the type that the founding fathers warned against when Alexander Hamilton helped write George Washington's farewell speech and wrote that it was a danger. Let's see, we've got the words here somewhere. We'll share. We should block the troll. Craig, do you have moderator privileges? All right, we're going to look at troll person. We block people that are purposeful disinformation agents. You've already destroyed enough of the United States. You've already done enough harm. I'm not the government, so I'm under no obligation to tolerate your speech. Do you see how that works? Do you see how the First Amendment works? The government can't suppress your speech. I, as a private individual, can freely block you. Freely. I think I should be able to block using Periscope. We can try. So, Craig, you don't have moderator privileges. I will hand that on to you. But while we're doing that, I will just expand this so people can read it if they want. There's a very relevant passage. Okay, I'm going to read you this awesome passage. So this is George Washington's speech in which he's warning against hyperpartisanship, of just getting overexcited about parties and the success of one political party over another. He says, the alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge, natural to party dissension, which in different ages and countries has perpetrated the most horrid enormities. It is itself a frightful despotism, but this leads at length to a more formal and permanent despotism. The disorders and miseries which result gradually incline the minds of men to seek security and repose in the absolute power of an individual. And sooner or later, the chief of some prevailing faction, more able or more fortunate than his competitors, turns this disposition to the purposes of his own elevation on the ruins of public liberty. It serves always to distract the public councils and enfeeble the public administration. It agitates the community with ill-founded jealousies and false alarms, kindles the animosity of one part against another, foments occasionally riot and insurrection. It opens the door to foreign influence and corruption, which finds a facilitated access to the government itself through the channels of party passions. Thus, the policy and will of one country are subjected to the policy and will of another. Well, that's a description, a great description of how Trumpism happened, huh? So that was from Washington's speech. And yes, America is less trusted now by other nations. Americans are banned from visiting other nations, etc. Yes, one hopes that Joe Biden will have a restorative effect on some of those destroyed relationships, that they're not necessarily permanently destroyed. But it is hard because we distrust America more now, knowing that so many of its people are sufficiently gullible that they can fall for a dictator and a charlatan and a murderer. That's hard. It can happen to everyone, though. People have been very judgmental against Germans with good cause. We have to judge the racism the self-indulgence, the grievance culture that gave way to supporting a Trump equivalent, but earlier in time, who was allowed to rage out of control for longer. And I'm talking about Adolf Hitler. So it is unfortunate, the destruction that Trump has wreaked. I hope you enjoyed that small passage from Washington's farewell address. Very relevant. Oh, he's got 0 followers. Joined recently. We can block him permanently. Be good to report him as well. I think we'll report him because I think we'll report him as spam. He did seem a bit spammy, didn't he? It's unlikely that Trump would win re-election. And I know it's hard to comfort people who are already suffering from post-traumatic stress that he ever won an election in the first place. That was a failure of the punditry, but not a failure of the polls. The polls showed that there was a small margin between Trump and Clinton. They were just misinterpreted by pundits who overlooked the power of the electoral college system. Yay, Clive enjoyed the passage from Washington's speech. That's excellent. This is another troll, isn't it? I feel like that photo isn't even real, because who would use that as a profile picture photo? So what I'll do is I'll say goodbye for now, everybody. I might be broadcasting again in about 8 hours, who can say? But take care, all of you. I hope the passage on how to delete Facebook is useful for people. So all the best. Take care of yourselves and each other. If you want to read Washington's speech, I'd recommend it. I haven't read the whole thing myself. I've just read a few passages now that have been so extremely relevant to the modern era and to what America has to understand about itself and how it was made possible for Trump to win. Trump is enough of a charlatan that he could run as a leader of one political party whilst claiming to be above politics entirely. And that helped him appeal to not only Republicans, but to some independent voters who said, oh, great, someone who isn't a normal politician, who isn't a representative from a political party per se, who transcends politics. He transcends politics in a way that he doesn't have any of the ethical constraints that even the worst examples of politicians from the Republican Party had. Thanks, Clive. I'm glad you enjoyed it. All the best. Take care. Bye to everybody who's not a troll. If you're a troll, you should find a better occupation for yourself and don't just come swinging around in here with your pants off. We're not very tolerant of that, for good cause. All the best, and don't forget to share with people the efficacy of masks, and scientists and researchers have shown that countries that adopt mask wearing in a broad fashion bring infection rates under control. And you need that for your economy. You need that to stop the hemorrhaging of jobs. You need it to stop the hemorrhaging of economic prosperity from your nation. Craig's supplied us with some masks. Craig, if you want to catch the replay, I'm helping you out there with the various steps you need to take to delete Facebook permanently. Hope it all works out for you. Take care, and goodbye. Have a great day. Oh, no, it's nighttime for you. Have a great rest. See you, bye. Oops.